The third Star Wars prequel movie, Revenge of the Sith, completely changed the way fans saw the original trilogy and Darth Vader, and also became one of the most beloved films in the franchise. However, to celebrate the 20th anniversary re-release of this movie in April,
this is where the fun begins.
Today I unearthed 20 of the wildest facts, from the origins of Anakin's famous scar, to the unused reveals that Palpatine was Anakin's father, and that General Grievous was Darth Maul back from the dead. And since episode 3 was the first PG-13 Star Wars film, I'll also briefly rank the other 5 Star Wars movies from least to most dark. 20. How does Anakin get his scar? In the graphic novel Star Wars Republic 71, Anakin duels Asajj Ventress on Coruscant and gets his scar from one of her 2 red lightsabers. In this same scene, she threatens to kill Padme, who she knows to be on Coruscant at this time. At 19 is Mount Etna. While much of Mustafar was made up of CGI landscapes, there was actually some footage of Mount Etna erupting in Italy that was filmed during production and used in the background. At 18 is Darth Vader's suit. Once Lucas agreed to have Hayden Christensen in the suit at the end of Revenge of the Sith, he also had it be top-heavy with specific weight added to the helmet so that it would look like Vader wasn't accustomed to it. Also, since Hayden isn't as tall as David Prowse, who originally donned the Darth Vader suit, he was forced to look out of the mouthpiece rather than the eye holes, and I can only imagine how awkward this would have been.
I can't see a thing in this helmet.
At 17 is Steven Spielberg. Director Steven Spielberg actually helped his longtime friend George Lucas with ideas for this movie. Not only did he help with the Mustafar lightsaber duel scene, including the moment where Anakin and Obi-Wan fight on the fallen leg of the facility, but he also was a big influence on the Order 66 sequence, particularly with the artful death of Aayla Secura. At 16, Qui-Gon's Force Ghost. Yoda tells Obi-Wan that Qui-Gon found a way to communicate with him from the netherworld of the Force, but at one point while developing the movie, Qui-Gon's Force Ghost was to appear with Liam Neeson making a cameo for the film. This would have furthered the understanding of Force Ghosts seen in the original trilogy. At 15 is Tunisia Shoot. While filming the scenes for the Lars homestead in Tunisia for Attack of the Clones, they actually decided to film the final scene of Revenge of the Sith here as well, with the young Owen Lars actor Joel Edgerton, which means the first shot of Revenge of the Sith was filmed in the year 2000, 5 years before the release of the actual movie. And it's funny how the last scene of the film is also the first one that they shot. At 14 is C-3PO Suit. C-3PO's suit was a nightmare for the movie because the green screens reflected off of his suit, meaning the visual effects artists had to repaint his body reflections frame by frame. And if I was one of the visual effects artists, I think I would consider quitting at this point because that sounds awful. At 13 is 4-hour cut. The original cut of Revenge of the Sith was 4 hours long and featured an hour-long Battle of Coruscant sequence that many of the existing deleted scenes we have access to now would have been a part of. And fun fact before we continue, I just want to say that Revenge of the Sith is in fact my favorite Star Wars movie, so this is definitely a fun video for me to make. At 12 is Shaak Ti Deaths. The Jedi Master Shaak Ti has 3 different death scenes across different Star Wars media. In one deleted scene from Revenge of the Sith, she is captured by General Grievous on the Invisible Hand and is killed by him with a stab to the back. In another deleted scene, she is killed by Anakin Skywalker in the Jedi Temple during Order 66 with another stab to the back. Lastly, in Legends and the Force Unleashed games. At 11, Vaapad. Darth Sidious was supposed to be the most powerful Sith Lord of all time, so how did Mace Windu defeat him, and without that much of a fight? This is because he used the Vaapad variant of the 7th lightsaber form, which was specifically created by Windu to fuel off of the dark side energy of Sith during fights with them. Now let's real quick rank the other 5 George Lucas Star Wars episodes from least to most dark in honor of Revenge of the Sith being the first PG-13 Star Wars film. At number 5 is A New Hope. The movie that started it all doesn't have much dark elements other than Darth Vader's force choke of Admiral Motti and the Death Star firing on Alderaan. At 4 is The Phantom Menace. Many would put this behind A New Hope, but I disagree, because the death of the main character is definitely a more dark moment than what happens in many of these films. At 3 is Attack of the Clones. I put Attack of the Clones right above The Phantom Menace because the death of Shmi is far more brutal and depressing than the death of Qui-Gon. At 2 is Return of the Jedi. Not only is Jabba's palace and the Emperor himself played off as more scary, intimidating aspects, but also Luke being brought to near death by Force Lightning, who is the main character of the movie, are very dark parts of this film. And at 1 is of course The Empire Strikes Back. This is the only movie outside of Revenge of the Sith where the bad guys win and Luke has his hand cut off and realizes that Darth Vader is his father. Plus, Han is frozen in carbonite with him taken to Jabba's palace. Back to the craziest facts though, at 10 is the changed opening. When development on episode 3 started, George Lucas first planned for the movie to open with 7 battles on 7 different planets to show the true size and devastation of the Clone Wars, and this is what he told the art department to design. After they decided there should be more development towards the seduction of Anakin Skywalker to the dark side, they made the opening sequence show Anakin and Obi-Wan infiltrating the Invisible Hand to rescue Palpatine, leading to Anakin killing Count Dooku at the Chancellor's command. At 9, Palpatine uses Anakin's lightsaber. In the fight between Darth Sidious and Mace Windu and the other 3 Jedi, that being Aegon Kolar, Saesee Tiin, and the best Jedi of all time, Kit Fisto himself, we actually see a few shots where Palpatine is clearly holding Anakin's lightsaber rather than his own unique hilt. This is because of an alternate version of this scene that originally existed where Palpatine uses Anakin's lightsaber as the young Skywalker walks next to them. Because in this version of the scene, he is somehow there before the Jedi Masters arrive. 8. Millennium Falcon. When first arriving on Coruscant, we see the Millennium Falcon which flies under the Senate building. This is a clear Easter egg for those who are watching the movie with a magnifying glass. Also, I just realized, who just owns a magnifying glass? I mean, I know my parents have one in our house, but it just kind of feels like a pretty useless thing to own. And funny enough, this Easter egg is a recurring Easter egg from the last movie, where we see multiple YT-1300 Corellian light freighters on Naboo when the characters first arrive. At 7 is Palpatine's terms. The Chancellor of the Republic is only supposed to be in office for 4 years at a time, but is allowed to have 2 terms in a row, which would bring it to 8 years. Palpatine used the Separatist Crisis to extend his reign to a 3rd term, and then when granted emergency powers, his chancellorship was extended for even longer. At 6 is Order 66 Survivors. After Order 66, we see that no Jedi, other than Obi-Wan and Yoda, survives, but thanks to the many shows and games taking place around this movie, we now know that this is not the case. The current list of Order 66 survivors includes Ahsoka, Cal Kestis, Taron Malicos, Jocasta Nu, Kanan Jarrus, Seer Junda, Grogu, Farron Barr, Kirik Infala, Gungi, and Kelleran Beck. But real quick, here's the Christian advice of this video. If you want to get back to the main video, then you can skip to this time right here. Today we are again looking at the Apocrypha, at specifically 1 Maccabees 13:5, which says, "And now far be it from me to spare my life in any time of distress, for I am not better than my brothers." This was in fact when Jerusalem was under attack. Not only are they facing their responsibility and doing exactly what they need to do, but also they're having a sort of confidence here that they will have the ability to do what is planned out for them. They have true faith here, which I feel like is pretty powerful. And basically it's just, the idea of someone that is in a very tough situation where most people would fail, and they are facing their responsibilities and doing it, which is obviously very important on a day-to-day life. Now getting back to the main video, I just want to say real quick, get excited because the winter merch drop is over now and we're moving into our spring merch drop, which is going to be coming out this very week. But yeah, back to the video. At 5, Grievous is Darth Maul. One idea Lucas considered to make the characters of General Grievous and Darth Maul more interesting was to have Grievous be revealed as Darth Maul under this suit. This was ultimately abandoned to focus on Anakin in the story. At 4 is Han Solo. A deleted aspect of Episode 3 is for a young Han Solo to appear in the movie. And I mean, I guess it's okay they didn't do this, considering that Chewbacca made it into the film on Kashyyyk. At 3 is Rebellion deleted scenes. There were 3 different deleted scenes from the middle of this movie, with Padme and multiple other senators who were opposing Chancellor Palpatine's policies and wanting the Republic to go back to democracy. This makes the scene of Padme and Bail Organa later much more impactful.
So this is how liberty dies. With thunderous applause.
At 2 is Vader's origins. The scene of Darth Vader being defeated by Obi-Wan and horrifically injured, leading to his transformation into the suited monster himself, actually went back to 1975 when George Lucas was finishing up the story for Star Wars. From all the way back then to the making of Revenge of the Sith, he always had the idea of him fighting in a duel against Obi-Wan on a volcano planet at the end of the first 3 films, and then being burned in the lava, turning into the suited Vader. But crazy enough, in the Return of the Jedi novelization, Luke asks Obi-Wan's Force Ghost about what happened to Vader, and he says that he defeated him and then he burned in molten lava. But at number 1 is Anakin's father. You know how Anakin has no father and was conceived by the Force? Well, there was a rejected idea in the first drafts of the script for Revenge of the Sith that had Palpatine as Anakin's father, who influenced the midi-chlorians to create Anakin. This would have completely redefined the relationship between these characters in this movie, as well as the overall saga, with this essentially being a mirror to Luke's revelation that Vader is his father in the original trilogy. And if you liked this video, then you might also find this one interesting, where I looked at the 20 craziest facts from Attack of the Clones. But yeah, see ya.